We've got a country to save, brought to you by your friends at Immun'Âge. Immun'Âge is the ultimate anti-aging supplement. Since I've been taking it, I feel energized, at the top of my game, and people keep saying I look younger. Go to Immun'Âge.com and use code Larry for 10% off. Also brought to you by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Impactful Pictures, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, MyPillow, and AmFed Coin and Bullion. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Please patronize our sponsors so we can keep bringing you these incredible videos. And if you don't patronize our sponsors, well, we know where you live. You know who used to be opposed to sanctuary cities? Joe Biden.
Would you allow these cities to ignore the federal law regarding the reporting of illegal immigrants and, in fact, provide sanctuary to these immigrants?
The reason the cities ignore the federal law is the fact that there is no funding at the federal level to provide for the kind of enforcement at the federal level you need. Pick up the New York Times today. There's a city not far across the river from my state that imposed similar sanctions. And what they found out is, as a consequence of that, their city went in the dumps, in the dumpster. Stores started closing. Everything started to happen. And they changed the policy. Part of the problem is you have to have a federal government that can enforce laws. This administration has been fundamentally derelict in not funding any of the requirements that are needed even to enforce the existing law.
So, Senator Biden, yes or no, would you allow the cities to ignore the federal law?
No.
Okay.
More about sanctuary cities, ICE, and immigration in a moment. But first, and the 2025 Razzie Award for Worst Actor in a Bad Movie goes to Senator Alex Padilla in Falling Down.
Senator Alex Padilla, I have questions for the Secretary, because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen clinics that you're rotating on your
Treated unfairly, Senator? Tell it to this CNN security analyst. That's right, CNN.
It's easy to think about this as one incident, but actually from a law enforcement perspective, we're really looking at three separate incidents that happened within a short period of time. First, you have the DHS secretary who is addressing the press. This was not a Q&A period, and she's interrupted. She's interrupted by someone who is speaking very loudly, and so her security detail confronts what we obviously now know to be the senator, and at that point, he is now going to be escorted out. You can't interrupt something like that that's already in progress without having those consequences.
By the by, is it relevant that nearly half of the ICE agents are Hispanic, as are nearly half of the Border Patrol agents? And that doesn't include the black ones. Just a thought. Now, there were dueling events on the 250th birthday of the Army, for which there was a big D.C. military parade, and there were nearly 2,000 anti-Trump No Kings protests. So you had a choice.
For 250 years, one force has stood ready, unshaken, unmatched, unbreakable. And today, the legacy rolls on. This is the United States Army's 250th Anniversary Parade. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and First Lady Melania Trump. Legacy actually lives on today with the U.S. Army Fife and Drum Corps, part of the 3rd Infantry Regiment known as the Old Guard. Founded back in 1960, they're the only unit of their kind in the armed forces. And the first recipients of a brand new military decoration, the Medal of Honor. With independence won, our nation's westward expansion began. The Army moved in step, guarding settlers as Native Scouts lit the way. Immigrants joined the cause, and the Buffalo Soldiers etched a legacy of grit and honor across the American frontier. They stormed Manila with the Flying Column, charged into Pyongyang as the first to breach the line and face the brutal crucible of Ia Drang, the first of 13 named campaigns in Vietnam where they proved their mettle.
Here's the black sheep, here's the black sheep. Even if we wanted to, the flock cannot be replaced. We swing like this, why should I swing it like that? Because in fact, on me it might not attract. Therefore,
Donald Trump, every day he remains in power. It is a nightmare for humanity. You feel it, I feel it. But if we don't make it real by continuing to pour out here and continuing to let people know that anything short of getting them out of power is gonna cut it, we can't be cut too late.
out to rock the door while it's still here to rock. Don't punch girls and we don't punch a clock. Gotta go see you later about a cat, and you can't beat that with a bat.
Yes, they are fierce and famously used in the Doolittle raid over Tokyo. Leading up front, the mighty from the sky were back down on the ground. In World War II, one vehicle led the charge, the legendary quarter-ton 4x4 command recon vehicle, the Jeep. The 82nd received the nickname All-Americans after a contest as it represented the diverse origins of its members from every state. This name remains today symbolized by their iconic AA patch. Fort Bragg's finest, ladies and gentlemen. Give them a big round of applause, the 82nd Airborne Ceremonial Band. The unit is best known for their bravery on D-Day when 12,000 parachute and glider troops destroyed German supply lines after fighting for 33 days straight. From parachuting behind enemy lines on D-Day to leading helicopter assaults in Vietnam, the 101st redefined modern warfare. In the 50s, the Screaming Eagles stood tall at home, protecting the Little Rock Nine during the fight for civil rights. The iconic Sherman tank is here, ladies and gentlemen. It was the cornerstone of the U.S. Armed Forces, showing its military might in World War II. It became one of the most influential tank designs of the 20th century.
You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I think you get with this, but this is where it's at. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. I think you get with this, because this is kind of fat.
Engine number 9 on the New York Transit line. If my train goes off the track, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. Back on the scene, crispy and clean. You can try, but don't worry, cause you can't intervene. We be the outcast, down for the settle. Won't play rock, won't play the pebble. Open the door, you best believe we're sliding through it swiftly. Niftily, we can make it hip to be. What we're all cause, what we be. Be the epitome, do, die, dippity. So now I dwell just to say you plain up. Hold your cup, cause I got the container. Pass the plate up, cross the fade up.
And over the music marching through, the roar of these legendary Army helicopters takes to the air. Flying overhead right now, they help define the Vietnam War. That staccato beat of the rotor blades was a welcome sound to many troops mired in combat. In mid-January 1991, the U.S.-led coalition began Operation Desert Storm, which kicked off with an intensive air campaign designed to knock out key Iraqi infrastructure and weaken Iraqi forces. The ground offensive was launched in early 1991, where military forces overwhelmingly destroyed enemy tanks and vehicles. After only 100 hours of ground combat, coalition troops liberated Kuwait, and the Gulf War ended with Iraq's surrender. As the oldest continuously serving division in the U.S. Army, the unit has participated in every major operation since World War I, living up to its motto, no mission too difficult, no sacrifice too great, duty first. The highly decorated unit has had 37 members of the Big Red One awarded the Medal of Honor. In Washington, D.C., the 1st Division Monument stands in President's Park, memorializing those who died while serving in the 1st Infantry Division. Named for General Omar Bradley, a leader from West Point's famed class of 1916, the Bradley was built to carry troops into combat with protection and power, and was first introduced back in the 1960s. Over the years, it's been upgraded to perform in versatile battlefields from Vietnam to the Soviet Union to Iraq. To show America's military might, they have one purpose: to deter war and, if ordered, defeat the enemies of the United States of America. They are the 10th Mountain Division. Has been seeing continuous combat action ever since activation in World War I. From Europe to the Aleutian Islands, Japan, Korea, Afghanistan, and the Pacific, the Bayonet Division boasts a proud history of answering the call of its motto, "Trust in Me," with resolute dedication. Distinguished themselves during the liberation of Manila. After periods spent inactive and stationed in Germany from 1963 to 65, the division operated as the 11th Air Assault Division with the mission of testing and refining the Army's helicopter-centric air mobility doctrine.
Everything to everyone, up and at 'em bright and early. I'm all business in my suit.
I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that I will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over me according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. Congratulations, congratulations. Welcome to the United States Army and have a great life. Thank you very much. Have a great life. Thank you.
And so to our soldiers, we're so proud of you, and let me tell you that the way that we honor and respect you is, number one, we never ask you to go to war unless you absolutely have to, and number two, when we do ask you to go to war, we give you the weapons and the support needed to kick the hell out of the enemy and come back home safely.
Because the Army keeps us free, you make us strong, and tonight you have made all Americans very proud. They're watching from all over the world, actually. Made them all very proud. Every other country celebrates their victories. It's about time America did too. That's what we're doing tonight. And watching this magnificent display, our souls are filled with gratitude for every generation of warriors who have worn the uniform all the way back to the very beginning. So to every veteran across our land and right here in our nation's capital, including 6 recipients of the Congressional Medal of Honor, we love you, we honor you, and we salute your noble service to our flag and to our country. As we celebrate tonight, we also think of the hundreds of thousands of Army soldiers who have made the supreme sacrifice for our nation and selflessly laid down their lives in every war, from the Revolution to the War on Terror. To the Gold Star families with us today, the courage of your heroes is the bedrock on which our entire nation stands. We thank you. Yes, we thank you. Today we commemorate an event that did not just change American history, but changed the history of the entire world, with the creation of America's Army on June 14th, 1775. Liberty got its shield and the freedom got its sword. Those first Army patriots in the American Revolution fought against a fearsome enemy and impossible odds, but they were armed with a righteous cause. They were led by an indomitable commander, a truly great man, General George Washington, and they were united by an eternal creed. Their motto was victory or death. Over the past 2.5 centuries, our warriors have shown unrivaled valor on fields of battle around the globe. With the frostbitten feet and bloody fist, they have marched into the flames and fury of combat, charged up mountains, stormed beaches, waded through torrents of gunfire, and leapt into skies thick with smoke and shrapnel. The U.S. Army has driven bayonets into the heart of sinister empires, crushed the ambitions of evil tyrants. Beneath the threads of American tanks, it's done so well, it's done so much, and sent the devil himself flying into full retreat. Time and again, America's enemies have learned that if you threaten the American people, our soldiers are coming for you. Your defeat will be certain, your demise will be final, and your downfall will be total and complete. Because our soldiers never give up, never surrender, and never, ever quit. They fight, 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 and they win, win, win.
Oh, beautiful for heroes proved in liberating strife. Who more than self their country loved, and mercy bore.
Thank you for joining us on this historic occasion.
Hey, Eldorados, you know I just had my birthday a few days ago, and I just turned, but honestly, I feel more like 43. The other day I was asked, yo, Eldersky, how do you stay so sharp? I said something about feeling young again, and then it hit me. I really do feel younger, and I'll tell you why. It's this stuff right here. It's called Immun'Âge. It's a 100% natural, anti-aging Japanese supplement made 100% of fermented papaya. I've been using it daily for the past few months, and I've noticed a real difference. My immunity is stronger. Energy's up. Even my skin is looking younger. Now, just pour this packet under your tongue. It's a powder. Let it dissolve. That's it. Tastes great. No pills to swallow. No hassle. If you want to look and feel younger and give your body something it'll thank you for, go to Immun'Âge.com. That's IMMUNAGE.com and use my code Larry at checkout. Immun'Âge, not too hard to pronounce, Immun'Âge.com, code Larry at checkout for 10% off. Please welcome to the program the CEO of Freedom Chat, Tanner Haas. My question, Tanner, is assume that instead of using Signal, they had been using Freedom Chat. Would what happened have happened?
Well, I think there's a few reasons to suggest that it is likely that it would not have happened. Somebody was inadvertently added to a group chat, not with this phone number, but with the username. I had two friends. One is named Larry Elder. The other, same initials, LE. I accidentally added the wrong individual. That is really what happened. So let's make the phone number. That should be a verification right there. Number two is in a top secret group chat. You should have an approval process. So if you and I are in a group chat, Larry, with a few other people, and I want to add somebody to that group chat, then everybody in the group chat should have to approve that individual that I'm attempting to add. And until that approval process takes place, he should not, or she should not successfully be added to the group chat. It looks like he took a screenshot of the chat. Doesn't look like he took it with another phone. Freedom Chat prevents screenshots and screen recordings entirely. And as you know, if you try to take a screenshot within Freedom Chat, all you'll get is a blank white screen. And we prevent media from being saved as well. What's occurred on Signal, Telegram, WhatsApp is they allow one account to be on multiple devices. That to me opens up the door for security vulnerabilities, phishing, hacking, abuse. So that means that your phone number, Larry, you can log in on your iPhone, your Android, your iPad, iPhone number 2. And the more devices you have out there, the greater likelihood that something's going to happen. With Freedom Chat, we do not allow that, or we put a priority over privacy and security compared to convenience. So your phone number can only be linked to one device. Somebody tried to log in on another device with your phone number, the messages wouldn't even decrypt. It would say send a message, but decryption failed.
Don't watch from the sidelines. Invest in freedom, invest in your privacy, and be a part of history.
Speak freely and message privately with Freedom Chat.
Download the app today. How much cost and damage so far by the protests and riots in Los Angeles?
With thousands of officers working overtime and some agitators turning destructive, we knew there was going to be a huge cost to you, the taxpayer. And now we have the numbers. These huge protests have cost the city a whopping $19.7 million. That's according to the city's administrative officer. Now, much of that $19.7 million is coming from the LAPD at nearly $17 million. We're going to break down this number a little bit further in just a few seconds. But we can also see the response from the LAFD has cost $1.2 million. There's been nearly $600,000 in damage to city buildings. The street cleaning for city streets has cost over $500,000, and there's been at least $85,000 in graffiti cleanup, but we are told that number is going to climb. So let's kind of hone in on that LAPD number of nearly $17 million. The vast majority of that, more than $11 million, is just because of officer overtime. The city administrator officer says on Saturday during those huge protests, nearly every single LAPD officer was working. So as you can imagine, the OT was was just racking up. There's also been $240,000 in vehicle damage to LAPD cruisers. The city administrative officer, Matt Zabo, tells 7 on Your Sides that these are extraordinary events with, of course, now an extraordinary cost.
Now, who should pay? You. California Democrats demand the federal government pay for the costs and the damage because, after all, Trump's federalization and deployment of the National Guard is what caused the damage in the first place.
I am demanding full accountability and reimbursement for the local costs incurred, including injuries to local officers and damages caused by the chaos unleashed when the Trump administration recklessly deployed the military and ICE agents into our communities. They are the ones who created this unrest, and they are the ones that need to foot the bill.
Timeline, anyone? The protests and the destruction began on Friday. The Guard wasn't deployed until Saturday at 4 a.m. in the morning, but Kerosene Maxine says there were no problems until you-know-who decided to federalize and deploy the Guard over the objections of the governor and the mayor.
I don't know why we have guns. What are those guns for? Are they to shoot protesters? I mean, there's no reason to be here with the National Guard. The President of the United States is cruel, dishonorable human being who would just assume they shoot somebody down. He started this. There should be no violence. He should not continue to support violence. They should not be edged on and, provoked in any way, and that's what the President of the United States is doing, to exert his power and to show that he's in charge and to show that he's going to get the numbers that he promised to get people deported. And so you know him, everybody knows him, and so it is not on just the police in LA, it's not just on anybody. Leadership should be from the President of the United States, who decided that he was going to send the armed guards in when there was no violence. There were no protesters at that time.
Okay, take it away, LAPD Chief McDonald.
Issue, and the federal authorities have the right to be able to do what they're doing. As far as people worried about the violence that we're seeing, this violence that I've seen is disgusting. It's escalated now since the beginning of this incident. What we saw the first night was bad. What we've seen subsequent to that is getting increasingly worse and more violent. Tonight we had individuals out there shooting commercial-grade fireworks at our officers. That can kill you. And we have adapted our tactics to be able to have a chance to be able to take these people into custody and to be able to hold them accountable. We are overwhelmed as far as the number of people out there engaged in this type of activity and the type of things that they're doing. They'll take backpacks, and the backpack will have a cinder block in it. They have a hammer, and they'll break up the cinder block and use that, pass it around to throw at officers, to throw at cars, and throw at other people. We've seen people with hammers, and you've broadcasted, breaking the bollards behind the federal building and taking the rocks, if you will, or pieces of concrete, and throwing them at officers. We've had liquid of who knows what description thrown at officers. There's no limit to what they're doing to our officers.
Now, let's follow this logic. If you're thinking about robbing a bank, you're more likely to rob it if there's armed security at the door. If you're thinking about shoplifting, you're more likely to do it if there are security standing in the aisle. If you're thinking about breaking and entering someone's home, you're more likely to do it if it's occupied by armed residents. And if you're thinking about rioting, you're far more likely to riot if the National Guard and Marines have been deployed. Their mere presence triggers you into throwing a brick and setting a car on fire.
Harry?
California Congressman Ted Lieu is asking National Guard members to refuse to deploy because, after all, Trump's order is illegal.
The legal authority Trump is using is 10 U.S.C. Section 12406. I encourage all of you to read it. It very specifically says the only way he can do this is through the orders of the governors of the states. Governor Newsom clearly has not given this order. The National Guard troops are following unlawful orders. I ask every National Guard person who is under this order to read the order, to see if it came from Governor Newsom, and then to read the law and then decide for themselves if they're following unlawful orders.
I think they call that insubordination. How, by the way, did that work out for this young lady, a former member of the Texas National Guard, who publicly said she was going to disobey an order from Commander-in-Chief Donald J. Trump?
We are not pawns for Donald Trump's agenda. Why now? It's because the military was called upon innocent protesters. We, in our oath to serve, we serve the people of the United States. The Constitution, these constitutional rights are being stripped and just denied, and the military will not be pawns to that. So I'm calling upon the conscience of military members who served previously and now. We have a conscience, we have mind, and we have a duty and moral obligation to say no and resist.
She's now been discharged.
I'm sorry, you're fired. Get out of here. Right?
And get this. This Los Angeles politician is literally asking the chief of police to notify the politicians when ICE intends to conduct a raid. You cannot make this up. And check out what the chief of police said. You know, that would be like, breaking the law?
Can we use technology, like AI technology, to create a situation where your department can identify, hey, there's agents, non-city of LA, in a neighboring town, everyone go on alert in a way where you can support our business community and our immigrant community to know that it's time. That's something related to the lack of due process, the lack of warrants is about to hit our town. I'm asking a creativity question here. What can your department do to do more to warn us, to warn the business community that outside of our LA borders, coming in from Inglewood, coming in from Antelope Valley, I don't know, you can warn us so that we can warn our folks in the spirit of your loyalty to the city of Los Angeles?
So you're asking me to warn you about an enforcement action being taken by another agency before it happens?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't do that.
Why not?
That would be obstruction of justice. You may want to talk to the city attorney about that.
Wow. Omar, who came from Somalia, says America has now become one of the worst countries in the world.
To be coming out of our country, I mean, I grew up in a dictatorship. And I don't even remember ever witnessing anything like that. To have a democracy, a beacon of hope for the world to now be turned into one of the worst countries where the military are in our streets without any regard for people's constitutional rights, while our president is spending millions of dollars propping himself up like a failed dictator with a military parade. It is really shocking, and it should be a wake-up call for all Americans to say this is not the country we were born in. This is not the country we believe in. This is not the country our founding fathers imagined. And this is not the country that is supported by our Constitution, our ideals, our values. And we should all collectively be out in the streets rejecting what is taking place this week.
Please, Congresswoman Omar, by all means, go back. Go back to Somalia, where you can live a life of dignity, peace, and prosperity. And not to be outdone, Whoopi Goldberg says black people have it worse off here than people in Iran.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
I'm sorry, but where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Keep hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot during this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit in Toronto and killed for
I'm sorry.
No, I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you, as
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same. Murdering someone for their difference is not good, whoever does it. It's not good. So that's why I said you weren't saying what I heard was not what you meant.
I think
that's-
it's very different to
you
live
know.
in the United States in 2025 than it is to live in Iran.
Not if you're black.
Not for everybody.
Not if you're black.
Guys, don't go to Tehran. Do not anyone at this table should go to Tehran.
Let me tell you about being in this country. This is the greatest country in the world. But, yeah, I know that. I know that. And we all know that. But every day, we are worried. Do we have to be worried about our kids? Are our kids going to get shot because they're running through somebody's neighborhood? They are not big deals, and I don't mean to say they're not big deals to you, because that's
we're all
not
women,
what I meant.
and they are not doing well there either. They are not doing well in Iran. They are not educated. They cannot have property. They cannot leave them.
I'm talking about here.
Nobody wants to diminish the very real problems we have in this country. That is no one's intent.
Good.
But I think it's important we remember there are places much darker than this country and people who deserve rights.
Not
and
everybody feels that way. Not everybody feels that way. Listen, I'm sorry. You know, when you think about the fact that we got the vote in 1965.
Okay, they don't have free and fair elections in Iran. It's not even the same universe. They can't go out of their house. The women.
You know what? There's no way I can make you understand.
Let me try something. It's like try to reverse roles with a black person in this country, let's say, because I think that's what you're talking about.
Yes.
Just try to understand from their point of view. From that point of view, this country does not do them well. Does not go for them.
I completely acknowledge that.
And
we shouldn't compare atrocities.
If you're talking about Iran, of course, is doing worse things. But relatively speaking, it feels bad.
Okay, but I think you know that Iran is significantly
I guess we're going to come back and talk.
We're
going to come back and talk more about this.
And I know what happened.
Curious, how many people in Iran have a net worth of over $60 million? Now, try this anti-Americanism on Arnold Schwarzenegger. When have you seen the ladies on The View this quiet as Schwarzenegger praises America, says immigrants should be grateful, and he finally says that there is a massive distinction between immigrants who are legal and those who are, illegal?
If you are an immigrant, you're an immigrant in this country. Yeah. Did you have a visceral reaction to what they're doing, what ICE is doing, when you see the videos of it?
Well, I tell you, you said that the immigrant, I'm so proud and happy that I was impressed by the American people like that. I mean, imagine they came over here with the age of 21, with absolutely nothing. And then to create a career like that. I mean, in no other country in the world could you do that. Yeah. Every single thing, if it's my bodybuilding career, if it's my acting career, becoming governor, the beautiful family that I've created, all of this is because of America.
That's true.
And so this is why I'm so happy to see firsthand that this is the greatest country in the world, and this is the land of opportunity. And I think because I'm such a proud American and a proud immigrant that came to America, I was asked to do, on July 4th, a big speech, the keynote speech at Mount Vernon, where George Washington was laid to rest, and where he lived and all that, to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America, the existence of America. And I will be doing the speech there. They asked me because I'm an immigrant, and there will be 7,000 some people there, and there will be people that will be sworn in and will become citizens that day.
That's great.
So it's really a great celebration. And this is what this is all about, is to celebrate people becoming Americans and coming to America and all that. And so I just think the world of the great kind of a history that we have with immigrants in America. But the key thing also is at the same time that we got to do things legal. That is the important thing, So you got to do things legal, and those people that are doing illegal things in America and that are foreigners, they are not smart. Because when you come to America, you're a guest, and you have to behave like a guest. Like when I go to someone's house and I'm a guest, then I will do everything I can to keep things clean and to make my bed and to do everything that is the right thing to do, rather than committing a crime or being abusive or something like that. So that doesn't really work in this country. So I think the important thing is when you become an immigrant, to think about, okay, I go to America because I want to use America for the great opportunities that America has in education, in jobs, creating a family, all of those kind of things. Then you have to think about, okay, if I get all of those things from America, then I have to give something back. You have a responsibility as an immigrant to give back to America and to pay back to America and to go and do something for your community for no money whatsoever. Give something back to after-school programs, Special Olympics, or whatever it is. Make this country a better place.
Arnold,
This brings us to migrant crime.
Thank you. Governor Hochul, on your first day in office, you signed Executive Order 1. Is that correct?
I believe it is.
And you extended this executive order not once, not twice, but 3 times, most recently January 16th of this year. Is that correct?
If that's what your facts show, I signed countless executive orders.
I would assume you'd know
policies
it's
and laws.
Executive Order 1. And this is a continuation of your predecessor's sanctuary state policies, correct? Is included in that.
I want to be sure we are defining sanctuary state properly.
I'll define it for you. It is the policy of the state that state officers or employees shall not disclose information to federal immigration authorities for the purpose of federal civil immigration enforcement. It goes on to say, law enforcement officers may not use resources, equipment, or personnel for the purpose of detecting and apprehending any individual suspected or wanted for violating a civil immigration office. Law enforcement officers have no authority in the state of New York to take any policy action solely because the person is an undocumented alien. That's a quote in your executive orders that you extended. Now, do you know who Sakir Akan is?
I want to get back to the first part.
No,
of
I'm
your
asking a question. Do you know who
Well,
Sakir Akan is?
I want to make sure you understand that this simply says that we will cooperate with ICE.
No, it does not say that. I read what it
We will
says, and let me talk to you about the results. Do you know who Sakir Akan is? You should, as the governor of New York State. Do you know?
Refresh my recollection.
He was an illegal migrant in New York. And do you know what crime he committed in addition to being here illegally?
No, I do not.
You do not. This was widely reported. He found a 15-year-old girl, threatened her with a metal pole, told her to get into the back seat of his car. He took her clothes off, and he violently raped her in Albany, New York. Do you know who Sebastian Zapita Khalil is?
I'm sure you'll tell me there's many cases, whether they're
These are
here-
high-profile cases.
Yes.
New Yorkers know about them, and you don't. So let's talk about Sebastian Zapita Khalil. Do you know who that is?
I don't have the specific details at my disposal, no.
Well, this is an illegal migrant in New York because of your sanctuary state policies. Do you know what crime he committed?
I'm not familiar at this moment.
I bet you're going to be familiar when I remind you. He found a sleeping woman on the subway, lit her on fire, and burned her alive. This is in Kathy Hochul's New York. And as I'm sure you are aware, and I'll remind you, that ICE issued an order to detain this violent criminal, but that was rejected by New York officials due to sanctuary state laws. Now, do you know who Raymond Rojas Basilio is?
I just want to say this. These crimes are horrific.
Because of
condemn
your
them. And I
your
would say
sanctuary state policies.
In all of these cases, we would work with ICE to remove
You did
them.
not in this case. They are
If they need
walking
our
on the
assistance.
streets because of your policies and your executive order that you signed 3 times. Now, Raymond Rojas Basilio, do you know who that is?
I'm telling you this. I will
You don't know
explain to
who
you
it
the
is.
policies of New York. We cooperate with, I know you're just
You do
trying
not.
to.
You do not. Specifically, ICE was told not to detain this individual, and he burned a woman alive on the New York subways in Kathy Hochul's New York. So I will keep on going. What about Raymond Rojas Basilio? Do you know who that is?
I'm going to tell you our overall policy, which will address all this.
I'll tell
We
you
do
who
not-
that is. He is an illegal who molested an 11-year-old in our state because, again, of your sanctuary state policies. This illegal was shielded from federal immigration enforcement and able to commit this heinous crime. And what about Wilson Castillo-Diaz? Do you know who that
I am
is?
telling you this. We do cooperate fully with ICE in criminal prosecution. Our sanctuary
You're not advocating for
regulations
these victims.
only deal
This
with
is a
civil
5-year-old who
enforcement.
was raped
Civil
on Long
enforcement.
Island in Nassau County. You are not advocating on behalf of these victims. You are shielding illegals. Even in your opening statement,
That is
you
not true.
prioritize putting illegals first.
That is not
Rapes
true.
of young girls, beatings of NYPD cops by illegals who are here under Kathy Hochul's failed policies, burning New Yorkers alive. This is Kathy Hochul's New York. It's one of the many reasons why you're hemorrhaging support from hardworking New York
These are
families.
horrific crimes, and they're heartbreaking.
They're horrific crimes that are committed on your watch. You signed this executive order on your first day in office. You signed it again and again this January. We deserve a governor who stands up for law-abiding New Yorkers, doesn't put illegals first, but actually puts New Yorkers first. I appreciate
Rather than going after the viral moment, I suggest you look at the facts.
I'm standing up for New Yorkers.
No.
Rather than addressing the illegals in New York, you are prioritizing your far-left sanctuary state policies, which you put in place with executive orders. Instead of advocating for victims, a 5-year-old who was raped,
with ICE.
you did not. They were released because of sanctuary state policies in New York State. No amount of words is going to clean up your failed record and these horrific crimes committed in sanctuary state that you created. And with that, I yield
Your
back.
representation, the facts, absolutely false.
Yields back.
Absolutely
Chair
false.
recognizes Ms. Norton.
Now, when Mayor Karen Bass got elected mayor of L.A., the same LA Times columnist who called me the black face of white supremacy said about her election, Karen Bass is the first female mayor of Los Angeles, and it's a big deal, end of quote. I would have been the first black governor of California, but because I would have been the first black governor of California with an R at the end of my name, and I don't mean elder, I mean Republican, it was not a big deal. But let's not digress. Well, this first black mayor of Los Angeles says she is pro-immigrant, making no distinction between legal and illegal.
I want the people of Los Angeles to know that we stand with all Angelenos, no matter where you were born. The First Amendment right gives you the ability, again, to protest peacefully, but it does not give you the right to be violent, to create chaos, or to vandalize property, and that will not be tolerated. So I call on all Angelenos to continue expressing your right, your anger, your outrage, but to do it peacefully. And I just have to say that all of you were there Friday. Everybody knows what happened Friday. A workplace, several workplaces were targeted and raids took place. Now, in the beginning, the administration said they were just looking for dangerous felons, violent people. It's hard to say that that's what they found at a workplace or in a Home Depot parking lot. When this happens, it terrifies people. It sends a sense of fear and chaos in our city.
Legal, illegal, doesn't matter. Is this first black female mayor of LA aware that the group most harmed by illegal immigration are black and brown people living in the inner city with high school or less education? They have to compete against unskilled illegal aliens, and most illegals have little or no education. They have to compete against them for jobs, and the presence of illegal alien puts downward pressure on their wages, meaning black and brown U.S. citizen and legal residents will make less money.
I had asked the Civil Rights Commission to conduct a hearing on this, and there were at least 3 hearings that we conducted, one of which was designed specifically to determine the effect of illegal immigration on black workers. We had a panel of experts who testified, and they spanned the ideological spectrum. Regardless of whether or not they disagreed on discrete policy issues, each and every one of them agreed that illegal immigration has a decidedly negative impact on black wage levels and employment levels. If you've got a significant influx of low-wage labor, what does it do? It depresses wage levels, correct? And what we found also was, regardless of the wage levels, illegal immigrants displaced black workers in areas that had traditionally been populated by black workers. And the reason for that is because what you find is black workers, particularly black males, are disproportionately concentrated in the low-wage labor market and are disproportionately likely to have no more than a high school diploma. And the same is true for the cohort of illegal aliens, and they compete with one another in areas such as construction, hospitality, service, and agriculture. This was not a small displacement either. We had one witness who testified that after he had run the numbers, he found that 40% of the decline in labor participation rates among black workers over 3 decades was attributable to competition from illegal immigration. It comes to nearly 1 million fewer jobs for black Americans as a result of the competition from illegal immigrants. And it's not just the employment levels. It's the wage levels also. And I can only give you a few examples, but we had evidence from the Fed in Atlanta, which did a study on this, to show that illegal immigrants depressed wages, the competition from illegal immigrants, depressed wages by $960 on average, but in certain sectors, such as the hospitality industry, the depression of wage levels was $1,560. And because black workers were disproportionately concentrated in those areas, they were disproportionately affected.
It is impossible to devise an immigration policy that makes everybody better off. For example, all the other chapters in the book basically show the extent, the importance of trade-offs. That if we want a bigger economic pie because of immigration, some people lose, mainly the workers, and some people gain, mainly the employers. The immigrants gain a lot too. So to choose an immigration policy, you're really making a decision about how much you care about natives as compared to immigrants, and how much you care about this particular group of natives versus that particular group of natives. And that's true for the choice of any immigration policy. So before we go ahead and say, oh, we should have more H-1B visas, for example, it's actually important to ask first, who are you rooting for? I mean, the H-1B program might create benefits, but it also creates losses. You only have to look at the New York Times reporting on the H-1B program and find out all these stories of people actually being forced to train their replacements. Well, are those people better off as a result of the H-1B program? Probably not. In fact, most likely not. But is the country as a whole better? Well, maybe it is. Maybe the H-1B people who came in will start patenting and start innovating in all kinds of ways. But again, you have to make a decision. Who are you rooting for?
The Commission has concluded that a properly regulated system of legal immigration is in the national interest of the United States. The Commission recommends significant redefinition of priorities and reallocation of admission numbers to fulfill more effectively the objectives of our immigration system. Now, to be specific, the immigration recommends a tripartite immigration policy that permits the entry of nuclear family members, professional and skilled workers, and refugees. We propose core immigration levels of 550,000 per year. The Commission emphasizes nuclear family. We recommend as a priority the closest family members, spouses and minor children of citizens of legal immigrants and parents of citizens are admitted as expeditiously as possible. I urge the Congress to adopt tough policies needed to verify employment authorization. What the Commission is concerned about are the unskilled workers in our society in an age in which unskilled workers have far too few opportunities open to them. When immigrants are less well-educated and less skilled, they may pose economic hardships for the most vulnerable of Americans, particularly those who are unemployed or underemployed. And the Commission sees no justification to the continued entry of unskilled foreign workers unless the rationale for their admission otherwise serves a significant national interest, as does the admission of nuclear family members and refugees.
I have a lot of choices about who I work with in the precious metals industry, and so do you. I really love the fact that for over 45 years, AmFed Coin and Bullion has been serving buyers and sellers of coins and precious metals. AmFed has earned a reputation for providing helpful information, transparency, and fair pricing. Nick Grovich is especially hands-on. He believes that educated consumers make strong investors. Nick is upfront and transparent about AmFed's commission structure. Their typical markup, only 3 to 7% compared to many dealers that may charge as high as 35% or even more. That is a remarkable difference. When you are choosing to invest in gold, it's important to be wise in whom you choose to execute that investment. Call AmFed Coin and Bullion today, 1-800-221-7694, or go to AmericanFederal.com. If you're in the Phoenix area, make an appointment to visit them in person as I did. You will be impressed. That's 1-800-221-7694, or go to AmericanFederal.com. Do you think EVs are better for the planet than gas-powered cars?
I think so.
Yes.
Probably not.
Yes.
No.
Yes, I think so.
I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to say.
Yeah, electric is probably the best way to go.
When I first began hearing this business about net zero emission, I felt conflicted.
We will eliminate in the state of California the sales of internal combustion engines.
And most countries in the world have already signed up for it. I love my gasoline-powered cars. I don't want the planet to be damaged, so I just don't know what to believe. Is it really true that electric vehicles are better for the planet than gasoline-powered vehicles?
So without more mechanical parts moving in the vehicle, it's instantaneous. Torque is instantaneous.
The batteries are lasting very long. Charging them at your house using solar is amazing.
That's it? Wow. I needed to get my hands on one of those cars.
What is your opinion of electric vehicles?
Oh boy, sorry. I'm not real fond of electric vehicles. They're good for around town. If you long distance, they create anxiety. Had one fire, sitting in the parking lot, just burst into flames. And then you're having a problem with the battery. What do you do with these batteries when they go bad?
When I think about visiting Ogbog Bloshi, it brought me to tears.
This metal to the lithium-ion batteries demand skyrocketed in the past decade.
It's hard to get one mine permitted in the United States, which means we're going to be relying on those people who control those minerals, and that's China.
And I'm not willing to financially support that humanity atrocity.
An electric vehicle is a computer with 4 wheels and some seats.
The components of these electric vehicles are made in China, so there could be tracking mechanisms put into Americans' cars.
And I believe that the United States needs to stand up against that.
And my father always told my brothers and me the following: hard work wins. You cannot control the outcome, but you are 100% in control of the effort. And before you moan and groan, ask yourself, what could I have done to change the outcome? My one question, my big overriding question would be real simple. Are EVs better for the planet than gasoline-powered vehicles? Now, in 1991, when Congress was considering watering down the sanctions on employers who knowingly hire illegal aliens, Coretta Scott King, the widow of MLK, wrote a letter to Congress in which she said, and I'm quoting, "We are concerned, Senator Hatch, your proposed remedy to employer sanctions-based discrimination, namely the elimination of employer sanctions, will cause another problem, the revival of the pre-1986 discrimination against Black and brown U.S. and documented workers in favor of cheap labor, the undocumented workers. This will exacerbate an already severe economic crisis in the community where there are large numbers of immigrants," end of quote. Now let me get this straight. Trump is criticized for causing and then not preventing the January 6th insurrection by not using the National Guard, and he's being criticized for utilizing the National Guard in Los Angeles against the objection of the governor of the state and the mayor of the city. So Trump was derelict in not deploying the National Guard on January 6th, but Trump is derelict in deploying the National Guard to deal with the current protests and riots in Los Angeles. Which is it? Revisionist history alert. Nancy Pelosi, who was in charge of security on January 6th, now says she begged Trump to send the National Guard.
In a bipartisan way, on January 6th, with violence against the Constitution, against the Congress, and against the United States Capitol, we begged the President of the United States to send in the National Guard. He would not do it. Not only would he not do it, when law enforcement people were being harmed, some later died, he would not send it in when an instigation that an insurrection that he incited was causing damage to those assigned to protect the Capitol and the Constitution that day. to accept the results of the Electoral College.
The question is, Frau Helm, were you lying then? Are you lying now? Or are you not, in fact, a chronic and habitual liar?
She begged Trump to send the National Guard? That's not what President Trump said happened.
If they would have had I offered them 10,000 soldiers. I said, it could be 10, it could be more, but I offered them specifically 10,000 soldiers. If they would have taken 500 soldiers, you wouldn't have had the problem. They turned it down. And if you look at the Inspector General report, he says they turned it down. They made a terrible mistake.
And FBI head Kash Patel, then Chief of Staff of the Secretary of Defense, also had a different version of what happened.
You know, how's it looking for January 6th? Do you guys have everything you need? And he goes, I'm going to authorize up to 10 to 20,000 National Guardsmen and women if you guys need them anywhere in the country. The reason that's important is because we can't uniformly deploy military in the United States. That's what the National Guard's for. But in order to do that, the president has to, one, authorize it, and two, the mayor or governor, so it's D.C., so it's the mayor and the Capitol Police and the Speaker of the House are in charge, have to request the deployment of troops. We went to them days before January 6th. We went to Bowser, we went to Pelosi. They said no in writing. We were excoriated for it. Your guys are lying. You didn't offer this up. If you had been there, this would have never happened. Well, actually, President Trump preemptively authorized 10 to 20,000 national.
Even Nancy Pelosi on January 6th, when she was filmed by her own daughter, admitted she was in charge and that she failed to fulfill her responsibility.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
That is not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepare for more.
Now, the head of security of the Capitol building demanded the deployment of National Guard before January 6th, but was rebuffed ultimately by Pelosi because, you know, bad optics.
Today we're here to discuss the security failures that occurred on January 6, 2021, and how we can prevent these failures from occurring again. I want to dive into the questions, Chief Stunt. In your transcribed interview, you mentioned that you met with the House Sergeant at Arms regarding the National Guard prior to January 6th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And who was the House Sergeant at Arms leading up to and on January 6th?
That would be Paul Irving.
And the House Sergeant at Arms is appointed by who?
It was appointed at that time by Speaker Pelosi.
And in your transcribed interview, you mentioned that when you first brought up the National Guard to the House Sergeant at Arms in the days leading up to January 6th, that Mr. Irving said he, quote, didn't like the optics, end quote. Is that correct?
That is correct. He referenced being concerned for optics.
And on January 6th, when you went to Mr. Irving to get his approval to call in the Guard, Mr. Irving said he would, quote, run it up the chain. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was a telephone call. I didn't see him in person when I first made that request.
The House Sergeant at Arms is considered probably the most senior security official on the House side. When Mr. Irving says yes to, quote, run it up the chain, end quote, what did that mean?
I took that to mean his leadership chain.
And who would be his leadership chain? He's functionally the most senior security official on the House side, correct?
That's his title. That's part of the title, the senior law enforcement official for the House of Representatives. But he would have been referring to the leadership team that goes up to Speaker Pelosi.
So the political leadership team, meaning elected officials, not another security official, is that your understanding?
That is correct, sir. He's the top security official for the House.
So running up the chain would most likely, in your opinion, is through the Speaker's office and possibly to Speaker Pelosi?
That would be where it ends, yes.
Okay, so let's park that there, and then let's jump to a second set here. In a press conference on January 7th, Speaker Pelosi called for your resignation on national television. Speaker Pelosi also stated that she had not talked to you since the initial breach of the Capitol. But according to your transcribed interview, you were on the phone with Speaker Pelosi a few times. Can you explain that discrepancy?
Yeah, that is correct. I spoke to Speaker Pelosi 3 times that evening, and she went on national TV and said I'd never spoken to her, but I spoke to her 3 times. The three times were the first time when I went over to brief Vice President Pence at the secure location. I had called House Sergeant Arms Irving, told him I was going over to brief the Vice President. I was also going over to do a personal assessment of the Capitol. At that point, things were getting under control. Went over there, briefed him on when we can get them back into chambers with, Mr. Irving being fully aware. He said he wanted to get Speaker Pelosi on the phone. He made a phone call from his cell phone at approximately 5:34, where I first briefed Speaker Pelosi. The second call was when I left that location. As I was walking away, I met up with Mr. Stenger, and we started walking over to the Senate to go brief the Senate. When Jennifer Hemingway, I believe it was Jennifer Hemingway, handed me the cell phone, and it was Emily Barrett's cell phone calling her, and it was Speaker Pelosi on the other line. This is my second call with Speaker Pelosi, questioning the information I'd given to Vice President Pence about when we can get back into chambers. I assured her that information was correct. I could get them back into chambers by 7 p.m., and the call ended. That was call number 2. Call number 3 was 6:25 p.m. I was over at the Senate from the secure location, from where the Senate had been sequestered, and on a cell phone using Robert Karam's cell phone, they dialed leadership, who was over off-site at a secure location, and I briefed all of the leadership of the plans to get them back into chambers. That would have been call number 3 with Speaker Pelosi.
So you didn't have 1 call, you didn't have 2 calls, you had 3 calls. So Speaker Pelosi's comments that she didn't speak to you are inaccurate.
That is correct, sir.
Chief Son, you previously testified on January 3rd, 2020, or on January 3, 2021, 3 days before January 6th, you met separately with House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving and Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger. And you asked them to approve a request for National Guard assistance on the 6th. Now, this is on January the 3rd. I believe this was in your book that you met with both Stenger and Irvin and requested National Guard assistance to be ready on the 6th. Can you explain what happened in those 2 meetings with Irving and Stenger?
Absolutely. So on the morning of the 3rd at 9:24 a.m., I specifically went to see him because I know what a big deal it is to have National Guard come and assist us on the Hill. I went into his office again, 9:24 in the morning, went up and immediately went up and said, hey, I'd like to bring in the National Guard to support me to assist me on the perimeter, because when we have a joint session of Congress, it takes a lot of our personnel inside. But immediately, as soon as I asked him, his first response was, I don't know, I don't like the optics of that. And his second response was, besides, the intelligence doesn't support it. He immediately, then we began talking. He said, have you reached out to Mike Stenger on this? I said, no, I have not talked to him about it yet. He said, why don't you talk to Stenger and see what he has to say? So then I left, went over to Mike Stinger's office at 9:35 in the morning, walked into his office. He wasn't there. I came back. He showed up at 11:13. I showed back up at 11:53 and went in to immediately ask him, I'd like to request the National Guard. He said, let's come up with another idea. Why don't you call, do you know somebody at the National Guard? I said, yes, sir, I know General William Walker. He said, why don't you call Walker and see if we need them, how quickly could they get here, and how many people could they send us? So I called William Walker 6:14 p.m. that night. He told me they have 125 people assisting with COVID response. He could reallocate those fairly quickly once he got Secretary of Defense approval and send them over.
Okay. When you met with Stenger, had Irvin given him heads up that you were coming to ask for National Guard?
Yeah, later on, after January 6th, specifically on April 8th, I went and had lunch with Mike Stenger. And I asked him, because it was kind of unusual. He came up with that idea so quickly when I went walking in. And I asked him, I said, Mr. Stenger, you came up with that response fairly quickly for me to call General Walker. And he had told me Paul Irving had called him ahead of time and said, son came here looking for asking for the National Guard. We got to come up with another plan. Pelosi will never go for it. I was floored by him saying that.
Okay, so you don't know, I know this word optics had come up several times in the past, or in different contexts. Do you know if Irvin had discussed that with Stenger, if what a possible response would be?
I have no idea, sir.
All right. Around 2 p.m. on January 6th, you joined a call with Metropolitan Police Department Chief Conte and National Guard representatives. According to Chief Conte's transcribed testimony given to the Select Committee, you asked the National Guard to send assistance on that call, and he didn't hear the military people respond to your plea. Is that what you remember?
No, he heard clearly the military respond to my plea and say they recommended against my request for the National Guard. Robert Conte immediately butted in and said, let me get this right. You're denying the chief of the Capitol Police? And again, he just, I can go farther into that if you want.
Okay, thank you. Are you familiar with the term data miner?
I have become familiar with it, yes.
Yeah, and according to a book by Carol Lenning, General Milley was using this tool and reached out to Senator Angus King, warning him about violent rhetoric for January 6th. Some of the intelligence included references to smuggling guns and other weapons into D.C. One message said, let's burn Senator McConnell's house down while he's in it. Another one, seemingly addressed to members who supported certifying the election, said, we're coming to kill you. Just wait a few days. Did General Milley ever reach out to you and share these concerns with you of any of this intelligence?
No, sir.
Do you know if he reached out to either of the sergeant-at-arms?
I have no idea, sir.
Would this intelligence have helped the Capitol Police prepare for January 6th?
Absolutely.
Now to Iran, or what's left of it. I got a question. Where are the big Democrat mouths who criticize Trump for virtually everything, for breathing? Where are they on this issue? House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, no problem criticizing Donald Trump for the BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill. People will die, he said, if the GOP tax scam ever becomes law, end of quote. And a month before the 2024 presidential election, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton had this to say about Mr. Trump. Let's be absolutely clear so that no one is confused. Trump's rhetoric has become blatantly fascist, end of quote. Former President Barack Obama, days ago at a speech in Connecticut, said this about the Trump administration. If you follow regularly what is said by those who are in charge of the federal government right now, there is a weak commitment to what we understood, and not just my generation, at least since World War II, our understanding of how a liberal democracy is supposed to work, end of quote. What? No comment on Iran? For years, Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama said a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable. But now when it comes to complimenting Trump for supporting Israel, the same Democrats have gone into an underground bunker. What's that all about? Simple. It's about not praising Trump for anything, even for taking a position they support. A big exception, Democrat Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, who said, I really hope the president finally does bomb and destroy the Iranians, end of quote. He later wrote, quote, to be perfectly clear, destroying the Iranian regime, free the Iranian citizens from this cancerous, repressive, and authoritarian regime. And then there's Democrat Fox News contributor and former Tennessee member of the U.S. House, Harold Ford.
I give the president a lot of credit. I think he's taken this moment very, very seriously. I was reminded of a Churchill saying, I no longer listen to what people say, I watch what they do, because behavior never lies. And I think the president's come to the conclusion because he's tried, other presidents have tried, and I hope he's not persuaded by or even impacted by politics. When you mix national security and politics, you normally get bad results. I think whatever the president decides to do, I hope he comes before the country at the appropriate time and fully, forcefully, and credibly tells us why.
I think they should have targeted him, absolutely taken him out. I think the way Israel operates, they just take out the leadership just like they did with Hezbollah. And they've already done that with the Iranian leadership. Just took them out even laying in their beds. And they didn't take down the whole building. They actually targeted where they lay in bed. And now they eliminated the military ones and the nuclear ones. That's magnificent. And the precision which they've done that. And I don't know why they would have left the leader out.
Tough day at the office for this Iranian newscaster. And a tough time for the Iranian Ayatollah.
And then I'm like, this baby mother better not blow up by nuclear or I'm gonna go loco on this. And then he blows up all my nuclear and I'm like, call my generals. And they tell me, they're all dead, sir. And I'm like, assemble the army. And they're like, they're dead too, sir. So then I'm like, launch the friggin' missiles. And they're like, sir, they're gone, sir. So I'm like, what the
From the time Iran embarked on its nuclear program, every president said that a nuclear-armed Iran is unacceptable. Trump has said it repeatedly.
Have you heard any signals or seen any messages from intermediaries that Iran wishes to de-escalate the conflict?
Yeah,
What have you heard? What have you heard from the Iranians?
they'd like to talk, but they should have done that before. I had 60 days, and they had 60 days, and on the 61st day, I said, we don't have a deal. They have to make a deal, and it's painful for both parties, but I'd say Iran is not winning this war, and they should talk, and they should talk immediately before it's too late.
In 1981, Israel did the world's dirty work by taking out an Iraqi nuclear reactor. In 2018, Israel did the world's dirty work by taking out a Syrian nuclear reactor. And Israel is doing the same thing now, as this British pundit said 13 years ago.
When Israel is pushed to the situation it will be pushed to, of having to believe they mean it, and when every bit of jiggery-pokery behind the scenes runs out, and when the UN and distinguished figures have run out of time, and Iran is about to produce its first bomb, Israel will strike. Every single country, including this one, people from our elegant diplomatic service, people from America, everyone will condemn Israel. Everyone in the Middle East will condemn Israel. And they will go back to their homes and they will say in private, thank God for Israel. The Saudis, the Bahrainis, the Egyptians, the Libyans, the Lebanese, everybody will say, thank God they did it, because nobody else would. The proposition being put before you tonight is that you have a choice between war and an Iran with the bomb. You have a choice, as has been said before, between war and dishonor. You'll choose dishonor this evening and you'll get war. You have the choice between a war with a nuclear Iran or a war at some point with an Iran that is not nuclear, which you stop from ever being nuclear, and hope that in stopping that regime, in embedding itself, you will give the Iranian people the best chance they will have of overthrowing that regime. But as I say, thank God this doesn't rely on you or any Europeans, because you've made the same mistake before, and nobody should trust you to get it right this time.
I think he means business.
If you resist lawful orders, you're going to jail. Let me be very clear about that. If you block an intersection or a roadway in Brevard County, you are going to jail. If you flee arrest, you're going to go to jail tired, because we are going to run you down and put you in jail. If you try to mob rule a car in Brevard County, gathering around it, refusing to let the driver leave, in our county, you're most likely going to get run over and dragged across the street. If you spit on us, you're going to the hospital and in jail. If you hit one of us, you're going to the hospital and jail, and most likely get bitten by one of our big, beautiful dogs that we have here. If you throw a brick, a firebomb, or point a gun at one of our deputies, we will be notifying your family where to collect your remains at, because we will kill you graveyard dead.
Now that great philosopher Lizzo has a problem with this.
I just watched a video of law enforcement threatening to kill anyone who exercises their First Amendment right to protest. And I've never seen something more unconstitutional in my life. It's actually appalling. I want to remind y'all that the first casualties of the American Revolution were protesters throwing snowballs at the British soldiers who were patrolling the colonies. And the first person they killed was a Black and Indigenous man, Crispus Attucks. I'll never forget his name. It is the literal reason why we have our First Amendment right to assemble. And now here we are in a constitutional crisis. We don't serve a king. We don't serve a dictator. We fought and lived and died for the right to vote, for people who will protect and serve us, the people, we the people. And when that gets threatened and when that gets challenged, we just have to get louder. We just have to get prouder. It's the American thing to do. I want to encourage everybody to remember their constitutional rights. I want to encourage everybody to also protect each other, because the people that we put in position to protect us are not doing that. Know your rights and stand on them. I love you all.
To which the sheriff of Brevard County said, "Who's Lizzo?"
Ever notice how you come across somebody once in a while that you shouldn't have with? That's me.
Now, this is for those who judge an immigrant by his cover.
I'm at the gym minding my own business. This older white guy comes up to me, pointing to my shirt, and he said, "Let me talk to you real quick." So I walk over there. I'm like, "What's up, man?" He said, "You shouldn't be wearing that shirt right now. You're going to offend a lot of people." I was like, "Who? Who am I going to offend?" He said, "Immigrants." I started laughing. I'm like, "I'm an immigrant. I support the president." He's like, "No, you're not." I was like, "Yeah, born and raised in Iran, man." He gets all confused and he's like, "Well, how about the soldiers, military's being deployed to target protesters?" I was like, I like law and order too. I like stores that are not looted. I like taxi cabs that are not burned. I don't know about you. I support him on that. And he's like, "Well, a lot of people in the military don't. They're speaking up. They're walking away." And I was like, "Well, guess what, man? I'm a veteran too. And the first thing they teach you in the military that you obey the chain of command. And guess who's at the top of that chain? It's the commander-in-chief, the president of the United States." So I told him this. If you are talking about immigrants, you're wrong. You're talking about illegal immigrants. I spent 3 years in a refugee camp in Turkey, waited my turn with no source of education, no source of income, because we knew what was on the other side. And when we got here, we didn't raise the Iranian flag. We raised the American flag and the Texas flag, and we still do today. So you're not talking about immigrants. You're talking about illegal immigrants, those people who invaded this country. And anybody in the military that have a problem with this, or like this guy, or those foreigners that are raising the foreign flag, you all are more than welcome to get the hell out and go find another place.
And here's another kindred spirit.
Someone asked me if I support the protests that are going on in LA. I 100% do. Please keep going. Burn down your own backyard if you must. You know why? Because this right here is the greatest campaign ad that this side never had to pay for. Y'all out there in Los Angeles throwing a full-blown tantrum. Like y'all just crawled out the Rio Grande, screaming death to America, in a country that gave you the freedom to do that. You were born at Kaiser Permanente in Burbank. Stop it. You ain't no chapter, you're Chris from Pasadena. You ain't cartel born. You were Target born with a Costco membership by age 5. Half you protesting ain't even Mexican. You're American with Mexican heritage. And a tattoo of the Virgin Mary you got on a Vegas bender. Don't get it twisted. I respect the heritage. But flying a foreign flag while on the country that gave you the freedom to do it, that's not pride. You don't even go to Mexico unless it's for spring break in Cancun with a passport you got from the U.S. government. Boom. And you won't go live there. Why? Because you like your DoorDash, your 7-Elevens, your air conditioning, and your freedom to scream dumb shit out of cartel rolling up on you. And let's be honest, ain't nobody screaming death to Mexico while flying an American flag through Guadalajara. You know why? Because that's how you end up in a back alley, starring in Cartel TikTok Season 3. Meanwhile, the rest of America is sitting back watching you block freeways during rush hour, destroying businesses, wearing $300 Jordans, screaming about injustice, in the city with the most social programs and diversity hires in the country. Y'all are the political version of throwing a Molotov cocktail at a Prius because you're mad about gas prices. This guy's good. So listen, I'm not mad you're passionate. I'm mad you're dumb. And your behavior is helping the other side more than a Trump rally in Texas with free brisket. Every time y'all riot, loot, tearing up your own you're just birthing another red voter.
So you heard me talk about Patriot Mobile for a while now. You probably already know that for years, they've stood in the gap for every American who believes that faith, family, and freedom are worth fighting for. They are the real deal. But did you know they've got cutting-edge technology too? Switching is easy. No store visits, no hassle. Keep your number, keep your phone, or upgrade. Their 100% U.S.-based team can activate you in minutes right over the phone. And get this, Patriot Mobile is one of the few carriers with access to all 3 major U.S. networks. That means exceptional nationwide coverage, plus they can even put a second number on a different network on one phone. It's like carrying 2 phones in one. They have unlimited data plans, mobile hotspots, international roaming, internet on-the-go devices, and home internet backup. You can't get this from the big guys. So what are you waiting for? Make the switch today and experience the Patriot Mobile difference. Go to patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT, and right now use promo code Larry for a free month of service. Switch to Patriot Mobile and defend freedom with every call and text you make. That's patriotmobile.com/Larry or call 972-PATRIOT. Attention active duty military and first responders. Open an account with Old Glory Bank. It takes about 8 minutes and get a free $100,000 line of duty life insurance policy.
Every day, they put their lives on the line. In the line of duty, in the line of fire. They're protectors, police, firefighters, the military, border patrol agents. They protect us, so Old Glory Bank is protecting them with Old Glory Protect. It's a $100,000 line of duty death benefit free with an Old Glory Bank account with direct deposit. Old Glory Protect from Old Glory Bank, protecting those who protect us.
Again, it'll take you about 8 minutes to open up an account. OldGloryBank.com. That's OldGloryBank.com. MyPillow is excited to announce that they are extending the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of MyPillow's most popular and newly released items. For example, save $40 on the new spring MyPillow bed sheets available in any size and color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability, perfect for a great night's sleep. Looking for a meaningful gift? Save 30% on the brand new My Crosses, inspired by the one Mike has worn every day for over 20 years. These beautifully crafted crosses come in both men's and women's designs and are proudly made right here in the good old US of A. Get the 6-piece bath or kitchen towel sets for just $39.98. Initial quantities are extremely limited, so do not wait. And don't forget the best-selling standard MyPillow, now just $17.98. Plus, orders over $75 ship free. Go to MyPillow.com and use promo code Larry or call 800-890-1843 to order right now. That's MyPillow.com, promo code Larry, or call 800-890-1843 to order right now. In other news, 200 Christian Nigerians were murdered by attackers shouting, Allahu Akbar.
Am I the only one who didn't hear about the horrific massacre in Nigeria? Hundreds of Christians, innocent lives lost, and the world barely noticed. Heavily armed Fulani militants stormed the village of Yelwata, Benue State, attacking homes and shelters for displaced families. Victims were burned alive. Many were children and women seeking refuge from earlier violence. Security forces failed to intervene in time. International leaders, including Pope Leo, condemned the atrocity, calling for justice and protection. This is the deadliest attack in Nigeria's recent history, and the suffering continues.
Now, former ABC journalist, air quotes, Terry Moran, now says reporters have no obligation to be objective. A reporter just has an obligation to be accurate and fair.
My own feeling is you don't sacrifice your citizenship as journalism, and your job is not to be objective. There is no Mount Olympus of objectivity where a Mandarin class of wise people have no feelings about what their society. We're all in this together. What you have to be is fair and accurate. And I would refer to the interview with the president that I did, or a lot of my work. And I would also say that this, while very hot, is an observation, a description that is accurate and true.
And here are some examples of Mr. Moran being accurate and fair.
52% of those who support the Tea Party say that too much has been made of the problems facing black people in America, compared with 28% of the general
Why are you
public.
going along with the mainstream media? Why are you going along with the administration's narrative to try and make this about race when there's no evidence to suggest
That's a 2-to-1
that
difference
this movement,
in opinion.
Racism has nothing to do with the Tea Party movement, so the fact that you're trying to manufacture it is offensive to me.
I'm just asking about a data point.
What did I just tell you about the data points that were crafted during the Monica Lewinsky scandal? When they try and troll and try and find that place that they can stoke and prod to try and create something that doesn't exist from something.
So you don't think it's accurate? You don't think it's accurate that 52% of the people who support the Tea Party think that too much has been made of the problems of black people?
Let's ask the same questions of the people who support the bill. If you're going to tell me that no, let's talk about the people that support the public, not general public that support the actual bill. The AFL-CIO, the SEIU, the people who are going to benefit from this. Let's interview them. Are you telling me the AFL-CIO are a bunch of pristine people who don't have a racial thought one way or the other? This is manufactured. This is why the American people, a great amount polling. This is why so many people can't stand the mainstream media, and why there's a hardcore animosity towards the media that is pretty much commensurate or equivalent to the animosity towards Congress.
I like to say that in some ways, Barack Obama is the first president since George Washington to be taking a step down into the Oval Office. I mean, from visionary leader of a giant movement, now he's got an executive position that he has to perform in.
The question you can sense on everyone's mind as they listen so intently to him, is he the one? Is Barack Obama the man, the black man, who could lead the Democrats back to the White House? Around here, they're even naming babies after him.
In 2016, Bernie Sanders changed the Democratic Party. He made democratic socialism cool for millions of voters. Bottom line, Roe versus Wade is overruled. There is no constitutional right to an abortion. Let's not mince words. Women will die because of this ruling. This is a court not of judges, but of politicians in judges' robes. Fight for Trump, not fight for America. He has the Republican Party as a personalized power like we haven't seen. It's a Caudillo, it's a Caesar, it's a Führer. We don't see that in this country. We do now. It's much more like sometimes you see in other countries, an authoritarian figure, maybe who has crossed the line of legality, still with an army of supporters. And that, in fact, the White House at this point is a laughingstock.
That's right.
In the capitals of Europe. Looking to shore up shrinking support with the white voters he needs to recapture the White House, the president boasted about rolling back an Obama-era fair housing rule, stirring racist fears. This is why he was sent here, by people who want to hear that message of America first. However, it carries with it overtones from the 1930s when an anti-Semitic movement saying we don't want to get involved in Europe's war. It's the Jews' fault in Germany. Charles Lindbergh led them. It is a term, as he defined it his way, but the words themselves carry very ugly echoes in our history.
Now, the LA Dodgers asked this Latin R&B singer not to sing the national anthem in Spanish. She did it anyway, and then bragged about it.
Okay, we are going to do the song in English today, so I'm not sure if that wasn't or if that wasn't relayed.
Hey, it could have been worse. Now, if Neza really had guts, she would have sung the Negro national anthem in Spanish. But there is some good news. As far as we know, there were no transgender nuns in the audience. Finally, gee, I don't know.
What do you call an alligator in a vest?
What?
An investigator.
I told my wife she should embrace her mistakes. She gave me a hug.
What did one ocean say to the other ocean? What? Nothing. They just waved.
What did one wall say to the other?
What?
I'll meet you at the corner.
I know a lot of jokes about retired people, but none of them work.
With no further delay, California freedom.
Our governor's a clown. So's the mayor of LA. Stupid mayor of LA. Corruption at the top. Arrogance on display. Always assumed we would conform. We're finally away. California freedom. Gets closer every day. Stealing from us for years. Still waiting on that bullet train. Yearly droughts with record rain. Runs to the sea and down the drain. Profit and chaos they control. Cartels in China they obey. California freedom gets closer every day. Homeless in every town. Driving families away. Hard to take a walk. Communities in decay. It's time for law and order. Communists are to blame. California freedom gets closer every day. Gets closer every day. Gets closer every day.
I am so sorry.
Say that again.
Okay, buddy, back to Mexico you go then.
No! Please don't make me go back to Mexico.
I thought you loved Mexico.
Not too racist.
Why do Mexicans have their soda warm?
I don't know why.
Because they are trying to avoid ice.
Man's best friend.
Funky dogs. Nasty dogs.
Like I said, man's best friend. Hope you enjoyed We've Got a Country to Save, brought to you by our friends at Immun'Âge. Immun'Âge is the ultimate anti-aging supplement. Since I've been taking it, I feel energized, at the top of my game, and people keep saying I look younger. Go to Immun'Âge.com and use code Larry for 10% off. Also brought to you by Freedom Chat. Freedom Chat has true end-to-end encryption, no storage of messages on the server, and no commercial use of user data. That way you can speak freely and message privately. Download the app today and subscribe to my Freedom Chat channel at Larry Elder for exclusive posts and never-before-seen content. We also thank Impactful Pictures, Old Glory Bank, Patriot Mobile, MyPillow, and AmFed Coin and Bullion. Be sure to like and subscribe to our podcast. Make sure to follow or subscribe to my channel on whatever platform you are using, whether X, YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. Please patronize our sponsors so we can keep bringing you these incredible videos. And remember, we've got a country to save.
Clear left. Kennel loaded.
Earlier this morning, ICE agents raided several homes in this neighborhood, detaining at least a dozen chihuahuas. Community reaction has been mixed.
I'm not saying they're all bad or that they deserve cages, but ever since the raid, the barking stopped. The neighborhood's been a lot quieter.
Introducing the new LA Riots 2025 shirt and hoodie only at LarryElderShop.com. A bold design that calls out what happens when weak leadership meets radical agendas. And now you can take the message even further with brand new mugs featuring the same fearless artwork. Perfect for fueling your day and the conversation. Grab your gear and mugs now at LarryElderShop.com, and don't forget to use promo code ELDER25 for 25% off. Wear the truth. Sip it with purpose. We've got a country to save.